question on that item. If the update of the IECC standard is expected to catch up to where the city is now, do we have plans to continue the 5% yearly, or what's the plan going forward?
I don't know whether we're committed to a 5% yearly increase, but we want to stay ahead of the curve.
And we will, because what's happening in the code world is codes are being reviewed all the time. And then we locally adopt codes as a result. So this adoption was off a 2009 code. Those are continually to be looked. And when new codes are developed more broadly, then we will look at coming back and implementing and updating locally. This 5% that was acted upon today was the last rung, if you will, of the specific prior commitment. But it doesn't mean at all that we will not continue to look to continuously improve, as the mayor said. I'm joined just quickly, Lisa Brown, if we have detailed questions afterwards, 16-year veteran of our working our local codes, along with Tom Hosey as our city building official, can answer any detailed questions.
Yes?
Mayor, on the question of the municipal court campus, the question was raised whether or not you'd be open for consideration of turning that 12 acres into a commercial piece of property for development, or would you stick to your guns and use that as the property in which the municipal court campus will be built?
It is our intention to build not just the new municipal court campus, but a criminal justice complex, which will include municipal courts and the police complex. We began looking at replacement of the police complex under the White administration, and they looked at a number of looked at a number of locations away from the central business district, and for a lot of reasons, primarily ease of access. That location, while it is a prime redevelopment location, you've got freeway access, you've got access to Memorial, you're going to be on the light rail line. There's almost no other location in the city that is as accessible to the citizens as that one would be. And while certainly it would be cheaper to go build a complex in a suburban location, this is not just about cheap, it's about who uses the complex. And we're happy to, we presented this at least a year ago to council and had some of this discussion. We'll be happy to meet again with Councilman Pennington and refresh him on those discussions.
Mayor, on the food deserts item, what do you expect the impact of this passage to be?
We have a grocery store queued up, an owner who is willing to open our first specific location targeted to food deserts, and so this will open the door for that, but we think it will ease our negotiations with some of these other grocery stores.
What ward's that?
So they'll be
queued up in?
it's in the 3rd ward, and I can't tell you off the top of my head, but we can connect you to the right place.
Could you tell us what company it is?
Yeah, it beats the heck out of me. I mean, I don't know. Let me find out from folks who are having them.
Of the barriers to grocery stores opening in these areas.
I mean, we have concluded negotiations with a company. I'm familiar with the company. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but
of the barriers to grocery stores opening in these areas, how important is this particular one with this ordinance address?
I don't know if I could quantify it. There's a host of reasons why these grocery stores don't open up. Part of the problem is that groceries operate on very, very slim margins, and the big chain stores have they have a footprint that they like, and they have a certain demographic that they target, and that's one of the reasons that the big groceries chains often have H-E-B has H-E-B, then they have a Jovi, I believe, and they used to have an H-E-B pantry, and they've given up on the H-E-B pantry. It's that smaller store that's it's bigger than a convenience store, but it's smaller than what we consider the more of a suburban grocery store size. And it's not that you can't make money in these grocery stores, in these areas, it just doesn't fit the model that these big chains like to use. And so we are working with independents, and we think we're gonna have more success with that. But every grocery store out there raises the issue of, we need to be able to sell beer and wine to meet our minimum definition. And this change in ordinance facilitates that. And we put plenty of safeguards in to say that this is designed to allow a true grocery store to come in and, as a small part of their bottom line, sell beer and wine. This is not, will not in any way open the door to package stores or convenience stores.
But Mayor, what are some of the ways that you're trying to draw in some of these stores into some of those minority communities that are suffering those food deserts?
Well, I mean, these are business transactions. And so, as I said, the reason that we've had difficulty with the larger chains is that they just have a model that they use, and this would be outside the model. And now we're working with independents, and something like a 380 agreement or a tax incentive, we're offering. We are discussing ranges of incentives that would bring the grocery stores in, and with each independent and with each particular site, those incentives could be different. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
And is any specific area targeted for those stores to go into? Or?
Yes, we have maps, and we have to share those with anybody who's interested, showing the defined food deserts in the city of Houston, and which would be our priority target areas.
Mayor, with that, are you willing to put the police department as well as Metro on the line and saying that they will also assist in making sure that these grocery stores that come in with 20,000 square feet will be able to operate safely?
10,000 square feet.
10,000?
We just put in an ordinance that allowed grocery stores as small as 10,000 square feet to be able to go into areas in proximity to schools and churches and so forth. But of course, this is, now, these are independently operating businesses. Once we get them going, they're expected to have their own internal security and so forth. But we want every business to operate successfully and safely. We have not, truly, I've not heard any company say we don't want to go into a neighborhood because it's unsafe. The conversations are around the margins under which they operate and how they choose to site their stores, and not wanting to step outside of, they're in a groove, this is the groove they want to be in, and they're making plenty of money. It's a very competitive grocery market. They're making plenty of money in these other areas. The name of the store is Highburns, and the owner is Mr. Wong, V-U-O-N-G Wong. John is easier?
John.
Yes. V-U-O-N-G.
Is that P-Y?
Highburns. P-Y-B-U-R-N-S.
Speak to just this whole idea of a food desert, from a bigger perspective, what it means for community health and for, everything you're trying to do here.
This is in the context of overall neighborhood revitalization. There are lots of things you need to have a healthy neighborhood. You have to have good quality housing stock. You have to have the ability for folks to get in and out of that neighborhood on the roads. And then you need certain amenities, obviously schools and churches and so forth, but you need certain amenities, and grocery stores are one that's critical. If people sometimes poo-poo the issue of food deserts, people who don't have access to anything but either fast food or convenience foods will eat what they have available. And that leads to health outcomes that over time have a significant societal cost. And so this is about building stronger communities and neighborhoods, because we can get the grocery store in, that incents more developers to come in and build better housing stock, and so there's a positive benefit there. But it also impacts the long-term health of our citizens.
Mayor, on health benefits, what were your thoughts on the discussion yesterday? Council's reaction to the proposal?
I think well, it was a little bit all over the map. I don't think, we were not surprised at the results. Yesterday was a presentation on the process and the background of getting to a recommendation. Some of the council members immediately wanted to know, well, what the cost is and for an individual city employee, and we're not voting on that. We're voting on the third-party provider. The structure of benefits, what the co-pays are going to be, or what the employee might pay, what the city might pay, not going to be on the agenda. That's a later discussion and a later decision, but council members immediately kind of jumped over the item in front of them because they wanted to, because they went immediately to, this affects me. And not unusual. The issues of customer satisfaction with the provision of service were legitimate issues. I don't know that we have the data that council members want. It's not that we don't want to provide it. I've yet to see a city health benefits structure, and I've been down here a while, that the employees liked. They're complaining about whatever we do. So it'll be interesting to see if we can answer some of the questions, but I just don't know that we've done an employee satisfaction survey. As to the issue of MWBE and the current vendor, I think the current vendor has an excellent MWBE record compared to the previous vendor, which had almost no MWBE participation.
On